Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the February 7th Sunday service of the Unitarian Universalist Church of St. Petersburg. I am Allison Donovan, your liturgist for today. It's very good to be with you at the beginning of Black History Month and the week of the birthday of Charles Darwin, who was born a Unitarian, became a saint of courage, truth, and meaning. To begin our service, we light our chalice now as a symbol of our search for truth and meaning, our shared communion, and our growing light of understanding and caring. Join me, if you will, in the words of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Another good morning to all. Speaking as pastor for our congregation, I'm pleased to note that we are a congregation for all souls and their fulfillment, for all ages, genders, orientations, loves, colors, abilities, educations, beliefs, questions, and hopes. If we've left anybody out, please let us know. We seek to promote spiritual growth and caring community, learning from all persons and all peoples. May our time together help us grow in understanding, caring, happiness, and courage. A few announcements. Next Sunday on Valentine's Day, UU St. Pete, we'll have a special goodie bag for you. You may drive through to pick it up between 12 and noon next Sunday in our church parking lot. Or you may have it delivered to you in the afternoon. Please sign up with Susan at susanbernor@gmail.com or phone her and let her know how many bags you would like for your self or family and whether you want to pick them up or have them delivered. Your Cupids, or Cupids perhaps, Lisa, Ellen, and Susan are putting the bags together soon, so please be in touch. For the next 5 Sunday mornings, and for a 6th that started this morning, at 9:15 on Zoom, we'll be discussing the sources from which our UU tradition draws. We started on source 1 this morning, but you're still more than welcome to join us in the upcoming discussions. And Cynthia Patterson is facilitating a 9:15 discussion group for women on Sunday mornings, so hope you can join one of our circles. Check out our website and our newsletter for the Zoom links to these gatherings and to get informed about our UU St. Pete activities. Please email me your phone number anytime to talk if you'd like to learn more about our religious tradition, or if you just want to talk out some things that you might be struggling with in these hard times of pandemic. With attention to pandemic protocols, I can also meet you on the church's open air front portico. My contact information is posted at the conclusion of our service, and it's on our webpage. Thanks to Allison, John, and James for blessing today's service with words, music, production, and spirit. And thanks to all of you who make ours a blessed community. And now our invocation.
Our invocation and meditation this morning is adapted from Anglican Archbishop Desmond Tutu of South Africa. Among the many things we hope, may we include this: from self-mastery, observing and controlling the ego, may we develop our inner power to transform conflict, to listen to others, to communicate clearly, to develop trust, to generate creative innovation and energy to resolve our problems, local and global, and to flourish, one and all. May we love truth, and may we hope for reconciliation. Where our visions seem to diverge, may we bring all our lives to life. Amen. And now our opening hymn.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole.
Thank you, John. So here's another child's play for our families. There were two cousins who lived next door to each other. They had the same last name, which was Full. And they were the same age, and they always had breakfast together before going to school. One was nicknamed Mind. The other was nicknamed Mouth. I'm wondering if you can guess why. Mouthful just shoved breakfast in, bite after bite, and swallowed without chewing. Mindful chewed each bite before swallowing and always seemed to smile all the way through breakfast. When Mouthful shouted, "Let's go," Mindful smiled and nodded and said, "Be right with you," and finished chewing each bite. They were never late for school, but at school, Mouthful was starving long before lunch and couldn't pay attention. Mindful wasn't hungry until lunchtime and loved being in class. One morning, Mouthful asked Mindful, "Why are you so slow?" Mindful paused a moment and then said, "I love the taste of our family's breakfasts, and I love not being hungry at school. And am I slow if I'm never late?" You might try it. You might like it. So Mouthful did try it for a week and really liked it. At the end of the week, Mouthful said to Mindful, "You know about that slow eating thing? making breakfast taste better and school feel better? You said a mouthful. And that's the joyful story about a concern that Mindful and Mouthful dealt with. And now, let's share any joys or concerns that we might have this morning. If you have a particular personal joy or concern to share today, please type it into the sidebar on our YouTube screen, or you may share again during our coffee hour if you'd like. And you also may send any personal joy or concern that you'd like announced here during the service to me or to our worship committee leaders, Susan Bernor and Dave Mapp. Hard times continue, so please be in touch anytime it feels a bit too much. And keep reaching out to one another. You're making such a difference in each other's lives. Now our readings for the morning.
Our first reading is from the conclusion of Charles Darwin's The Origin of Species. Any being, if it vary however slightly in any manner profitable to itself, under the complex and sometimes varying conditions of life, will have a better chance of surviving and thus be naturally selected. There is grandeur in this view of life, with its several powers, having been originally breathed into a few forms or into one, and that, whilst this planet has gone cycling on according to the fixed law of gravity, from so simple a beginning, endless forms most beautiful and most wonderful have been made and are being evolved.
Be still. Breathe in awareness. Let go. Let go. Judgment and attachment. Accept what is. Gently with compassion. You are where you should be. Be still. Here, be still.
A reading adapted from the Buddha's first sermon. The enlightened Buddha's comrades came to find his teaching that first day in the deer park at Benares to be their true way. He taught, "There are two extremes which should not be followed because they prove regrettable, unworthy, unprofitable. These are addiction to pleasures and addiction to abstinence from pleasures. There is a middle way of four truths which give one understanding, contentment, wisdom, enlightenment, and bliss. First, suffering, that is, misery, permeates life. Second, misery is anxiety caused by obsessive aversion to what is unpleasant and obsessive craving for what is pleasant. Third, misery can be ended by ending obsessive aversion and obsessive craving. Fourth, the way to end obsessive aversion and craving and achieve understanding, contentment, wisdom, enlightenment, and bliss is by an 8-step path. Rightly understand anxious misery as caused by obsessive aversion and craving. Decide to become free of the causes of misery. Avoid speech that causes misery. Avoid action that causes misery. Avoid livelihood that causes misery. Decide to seek enlightenment. Become mindful in order to detach from the misery that obscures enlightenment. Become and remain mindful of the bliss of being when freed from misery."
Can mindfulness help? Mindfulness starts with muddy water. Any water gets muddied over time from drainage, precipitates. Take a glass of muddy water and swirl it around. It stays muddy. If you let the glass sit, the mud settles, and you can use the clear water safely for many purposes. If soil on the water's surface catches your attention, you can focus on, you can focus on the clearing water while the soil settles. You are there when the water becomes clear, able to quench thirsts, douse fires, nurture growth, clean messes. That's mindfulness. Observing the contents of the cup that is your mind. You quiet yourself. Observe as calm breathing settles your irritating spots of fruitless anxiety. Observe clarity emerging. Note old anxieties and yearnings return. Watch them settle to the bottom to await their due time. Watch clarity restore your mind to its full powers. Know the feeling of clear, empowered mind. Apply your full mind, the full powers of your mind, to your purposes in the present moment. That's mindfulness. Not without some fears, not without some desires, but without your mind being miserable and misruled by fear and desire. Mindfulness, being aware of the motivations and influences in your mind, with awareness and caring for the full well-being of your spirit, your life, yourself. That is your mind. Having all your mind's powers available to bless life and world. Knowing and feeling the bliss of having and being that power. Fullness of grace, we might say. For me, it has meant a great deal. Not foolproof on every occasion that I was headed toward being a fool, but from my first instruction 36 years ago, through years of reinforcing practice, it has been a great help. I'd say mindfulness helps at every level, from self to society. Every time period, every people, every person has suffered. All have faced the misery problem, and all have caused misery, big or small, at one time or another. That is not to blame every person in every society. The fault is primarily in the stars, those power-craving leaders who periodically wrestle power and then grab more by hook and by crook, claiming to be shepherds, with so many unknowingly hooked into being sheep under powerful crooks. We know about that these days. When fear or need or greed is raised and swirled about, humankind loses sight of equal inherent human worth and of the pervasive interdependence of all earthkind. Then we are turned to war, to domination, to needless misery in countless times and places. It has happened everywhere. Everywhere. This is not to say that mindfulness will save you from the harms of constant oppressions or inevitable accidents. But as the great singer Tina Turner teaches these days about her days of great difficulty, mindfulness will save you from the misery of ceaseless, fruitless anxiety about those difficulties, and from paralysis in responding to them. 2,500 years ago, Lao Tzu said, "There must be peace in the heart, for peace in the family, for peace in the community, for peace in the nation, for peace in the world," and vice versa. It is an interdependent web. But for the multitudes, the web has often been used as a snare. In response, Nobel Peace Prize laureate Archbishop Desmond Tutu called for self-mastery of the ego, so humankind can generate creative innovations and energy to resolve our problems and flourish, one and all. That nicely describes the work of mindfulness, I think. It seems such a challenge in the buzzing, blooming world of ego's blend of primal reactions and cultured responses, where each cradle-to-grave construction of a mind is built with a mix of culturally and personally malleable genetic traits. To sense the complexity, here are the 6 basic genetic personality traits, each on a scale of tendency in a person, as identified these days by personality psychologists. Inclination for relationships, anxiety in relationships, agreeableness in relationships, conscientiousness in relationships, openness in relationships, and honesty in relationships. Each person measuring differently on each scale. Adding to the difficulty of sorting this out is the variety of what motivates us, what motivates people in seeking personal and social well-being. What skills does our culture teach for negotiating all of this? Business school, law school, everything learned in kindergarten? Mindfulness offers one comprehensive but simple skill: quiet watching. In each moment, the mind watching its own inner movements and the world's outer movements. No reactive judgments about good or bad. Just observing the working realities of mind and of world. Noting, so, freeing the mind to help it and the world work better for safety, for happiness. Unitarian-bred Charles Darwin's Origin of Species resonates with the possibilities of mindfulness in its conclusion. From so simple a beginning, endless forms most beautiful and most wonderful have been and are being evolved. Mindfulness itself is a simple beginning that continues human evolution, bringing uniquely beautiful and wonderful new thought, feeling, experience, and influence to life. Mindfulness is a core practice for keeping life's sweetness from being embittered by fruitless anxiety, craving, and fear. Seems relatively new in Western culture. But in Asia, especially in Buddhism, mindfulness has long been an invaluable skill to be developed for great personal and social benefit. The title of our second reading this morning is often interpreted as the Four Noble Truths. But scholars have noted it might be interpreted better as the Four Truths for Nobility, or Excellence, or a Great Life. Briefly again, these truths are awareness of life's misery, awareness that misery is not inherent in life but caused, awareness that misery's cause can be ended, and awareness of the way to end misery. In the reading, we heard the fourth truth's 8 ingredients in the Buddha's prescription to cure misery. They are often summarized as 3 transformations. 1, understanding misery and its cause. 2, not doing things that cause misery. And 3, learning to shift focus from transient surface misery to an internal bliss that is always there. You have to practice to find that experience. Of course, once you know the steps, you have to have enough motivation to follow them. But in The Color Purple, Alice Walker's wise character succinctly points out or predicts a constant motivation. Suffering do it for most folks, feeling like blip. Walker's process boils down to the same as the Buddha's or Judaism's. Banish all your fabricated idols until you are one with the source of being. Or as Unitarian transcendentalist Margaret Fuller put it long ago, by letting go of self, you are taken up into oneness with God. Mindfulness. It brings a state of fullness of grace, a state of energy, clarity, peace, enchantment, bliss, blessedness, freed from fear and regret to bring more grace to the world. Amidst the swirl of life, it seems clear to me that mindfulness helps everything. What do you think?
To keep our congregation thriving, may we remember our connection to one another, and let us not forget our offerings to support the means to those connections. As you listen to our brief offertory, please click on the eye in the upper right-hand corner of your screen to make a contribution. You may also donate by the Give Plus app, on our webpage under the Giving tab, or you can send a check to the church office. And many thanks.
Some closing words. May we remember to be aware enough of our distracting anxieties to put them aside until their due time. And may we remain aware enough of the fullness of what we are doing, thinking, and feeling in the present moment to make it our best. Have a great week.
And now, as our service ends, with a breath, we pass the flame of our chalice lamp to each other as we say our closing words together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of love, or the fire of courage. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world.